So, we all have those duh moments, right? Some of us more than we want to admit, but we have those moments where we thought we were understanding what somebody was telling us, or we thought we understood what they were trying to teach us or get across to us, but we just kind of weren't really getting it. And then all of a sudden we have this light bulb moment and we fully get it and we're like, oh, duh. Well, I had one of those, and I have those frequently, and one of my most memorable ones came actually from scripture and from God. I remember exactly where I was driving down the road on US 30 in northern Indiana on my way home, and I just had this total duh moment. See, I was going through a rough time. It was just one of those seasons of life that was hard. I was in a daily battle, and every morning I would wake up and the weight of this battle would just be so incredibly heavy, and it was just so hard, and I didn't want to keep doing it. I was exhausted and I was tired, but I would pray for strength, and I would just get up and I would go pick myself up by my bootstraps and do the best that I could to get through the day. I was in the Word. I was all about the Word. I was all about my relationship with Jesus, but I was just doing the best I could to get through that battle and to fight my battle. But I was driving down the road and it just hit me, this duh moment, because I had this scripture kind of like on repeat in my head, and it's in 2 Corinthians, and Paul's actually talking to the Corinthian church, and he's saying, like, he calls it his thorn in his flesh. I've got this thorn in my flesh that's from Satan to keep me from getting too humble, or to keep me humble and from being too conceited, and I just have this huge thorn, and I've prayed for God to take it away. And his answer is in 2 Corinthians 12, verses 9 and 10. But God said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest on me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Okay, do you see where my duh moment was? My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. When God brought this scripture back to my mind, my power is made perfect in weakness. Duh, Meg, you've got to be weak. I was fighting so hard. I was praying for strength to get through my day and my battles and just to be able to fight for the day and for the victory. I was fighting so hard. I was fighting a battle I was never meant to fight. I had to embrace weakness and let myself be weak. Talk about a life-changing, revolutionary moment. Now, I can't tell you that things changed overnight. I can't tell you that once I decided to release this stuff and to let myself be weak, that it changed overnight. It was a long, long process, but it was that moment was the start of a journey that I was meant to walk, with battles that I wasn't meant to fight, but I was meant to surrender. See, the first thing I had to do was release. I had to release these expectations that I had on myself, that I had on those around me, that I had on my life, this kind of superpower that I thought that I possessed, that I was strong enough to do it, that I could fight on my own. Sure, I wanted God with me, but I could fight, right? I'm strong. Just pick myself up by my bootstraps, dust myself off, and let's go, right? That's how we do things. That's kind of how we're ingrained, some of us. That's what I was doing. And I had to release that expectation on myself and just kind of throw up my hands and surrender. It's not give up, it's surrender. They're two very different things. But I had to surrender. I had to surrender my heart and my life to Christ. Now, I had been walking and following the Lord for many years. I had a strong relationship with him, but there was something I was still holding on to. I was still wanting to fight some of my own battles instead of giving them to him. So I had to surrender that part of my heart and my life, and I had to surrender that part of my story. See, there was a lot of pride in me that didn't want to admit that what the battle that I was facing was a battle that I would have to face and that I would have to surrender to. There was some stigma that I didn't want associated with it. I had to release that and surrender that and let that go and just surrender my story so that my story could become his story, and so that his power could rest on me. Like Paul says, therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest on me. I had to embrace this weakness so that Christ's power could be on me, and I could embrace the hardship and the trial that I was facing, and those battles that wasn't mine anymore to fight. But I surrendered that battle. You see, the world doesn't need our stories where we pick ourselves up and we dust ourselves off and we keep going because we're strong and we're fierce. That's not what the world needs. The world needs your surrendered story. The world needs your story that it's changed you because of the power of Christ. That's what the world needs. So I had to surround myself with mentors and family and friends and loved ones and professionals and doctors and say, I am not okay. And so maybe that's what you need to do. We need to be the loudest ones screaming that it's okay to not be okay, because when we are weak, then we are strong. So when we release, our victory is in the surrender.